Hello friends, Mr. O'Connor here to do some math with you today. So today we're going to listen to a story and then we're going to find the math in it. One of the things a good mathematician always does when hearing a story is listening to see if there's any math in it and then solving for that math if they can. So here's our story today. You can read it with me. Ready, set, read. I had some markers. It's a short story. Okay, so first my job is to find the math. I always like to look for quantities and numerals first, but I don't see any in this story. I'm going to look for math words now. Oh, I spot it. Did you spot the math word? It's right here. Read the word with me. Sum. Sum is a math word that means a quantity that's not zero and that's more than one. I know it's more than one because the author included the letter S at the end of the word markers, and that means that there's more than one. So, do I know how many markers the character has? No, but I know that they have some. So the author's going to need to give us some more information. Great. Now that we have more information, let's read our story again. Ready, set, read. I had some markers. Some were red and some were blue. Now, the author still didn't tell us any numerals and I still don't see any quantities, so I don't know exactly how many markers the character has, but what I do know is that the character has a quantity of markers and that there's two different kinds of markers in that quantity. I know that there's some red markers and I know that there's some blue markers. So I know that I can't solve for anything yet. I know that I'll need more information from the author, but what a good mathematician can do is start thinking about what kind of quantities would make sense here. We know that it's not zero, and we know that it's not one, but we can think about what kind of quantities would make sense. So could I have 7 markers? Yeah, that would make sense. Could I have 12 markers? Yeah, I think that would make sense too. Could I have 1,012 markers? Guess I could, but it really doesn't make sense that somebody would keep that many markers. So I'm going to pick quantities, I think quantities that make the most sense. So I'm still going to need more information from the author before I can solve anything. So let's come up with an example of what might make sense. Let's pretend the author said this version of the story. Let's read it together. Ready, set, read. I had 9 markers. 6 were red and some were blue. How many were blue? I hear now the author is asking us to solve for something. I know because they have a wondering question mark. They want us to solve for how many blue markers there are. Well, now I'm going to see if I can find math in this story. Okay, I see a couple of quantities and numerals this time. I see that I have 9 markers, and I know how many of them were red. How many of the markers were red? 6 exactly. So it's my job to solve for how many blue markers there are. I wonder how I can go about doing that. The first thing I think I'm going to do is to draw a picture. I know that I had, how many markers? My whole was 9. So I'm going to draw lines for my markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I remember that my author told me that 6 of those markers were red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to draw a circle around those markers. And that shows that those are my red ones. That means that whichever markers are left are the ones that are blue. Let's count those. Ready, set, count. 1, 2, 3. So I know that 6 of my markers were red and that 3 of my markers were blue. One way that I can show that thinking is to write it as a number bond or an equation or a number sentence. I'm going to demonstrate all 3. First, I'm going to make a number bond. I know that this circle represents my whole, and these 2 circles represent my parts. In this problem, the whole is how many markers I had. What quantity of markers did I have? 9, exactly. How many of them were red? 6. And then I proved how many of them were blue? 3. And I know that this is right because 6 and 3 is the same as 9. I'm going to write that as a number sentence now. 9 is 6 and 3. I'm going to read that just to make sure I agree. Ready, set, read. 9 is 6 and 3. And I know that's right because 6, a group of 6, and a group of 3 come together to make 9. Could also write it as an equation. 9 equals 6 plus 3. So that would be one way to solve my problem if I knew that I had 9 markers and that 6 of them were red. Let's go back to this version of the story. Let's read it together. Ready, set, read. I had some markers. Some were red and some were blue. Your job today is to decide any quantity that you want that makes sense, how many markers you had, and to also decide how many of those were red. Then your job is to use your math brain to figure out how many of them were blue. You can do that using a drawing, a number bond. Oops, that was upside down, sorry. You can do that using a drawing, a number bond, a number sentence, or an equation. As long as your math makes sense, choose one of those ways and take a video or photo of your work and send it to your teacher. I can't wait to see what your math brain comes up with. Good luck!